3 letters, farm animal that's more intelligent than you, starts with P. We are live. Sorry guys, we are back. Look around, we have a new set. We have the competence that start to push us a lot. So we need to do something different. So we will do something like having people talking about artificial intelligence, people talking about traceability, how the new farms that will be now and in the future, we need to talk about that. So farming is getting so high-tech that soon we will ask in Alexa, how are the pigs?
The pigs are all right. But you are not getting any thinner, Miquel.
So sit back, relax, and grab your corn. We make it pop. Welcome! Thank you very much. Oof. Do you like the set? I love it. We have a new one. Do you see? We have real pigs inside the set. We have everything. And finally, we are into a barn. And to start to have a nice kickoff, we need someone special, someone that rockets on what it was the swine industry. With us tonight, we have Peter Chair Linde.
Hey, my friend.
Peter.
So good to see you again.
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much.
Do you like the set?
I've never seen something like this before. It's amazing, isn't it?
Really? No?
Wow. Yeah.
I love it. So you are here to talk a little bit about LeeO.
Yeah.
Do you mind?
Let's go.
Please, have a seat. So let's start, Peter. What's LeeO?
Well, essentially, LeeO is a system that is designed to follow animals, pigs, from birth all the way to slaughter. We use electronic ear tags for that. So with this technology, we can do two things. First of all, is we can make sure that the production people are getting a lot of information on an individual animal level. Normally, we manage on groups, right? And with groups, it's very difficult to get insights in the variation of the performance of these animals. And by following animals individually, we can actually give you that insight and manage way better on the production perspective. There's a lot of waste being done by unmanaged variation, about 30% of waste in there. So I think we can do better.
So just to understand a little bit more, LeeO, it's different devices, it's attached, what exactly is? So if tomorrow I want to start LeeO in my farm, what I need to have? Which will be the tools that I will have?
Well, you don't have to change anything on your operation in that sense. So you don't have to like remodel your barn or everything. The only thing you have to do is get an ear tag, get the reader, and download the app, and that's it.
Wow, easy peasy.
Easy peasy.
And let me know a little bit about, so then the information from the slaughterhouse come back to me, and I know how the age, the weight, everything from that animal, no, I assume.
Well, so what we do is at the slaughter plant, the animals are being scanned. So we scan the ear tag, we connect that data to the hook ID of that animal, and we follow it all the way through. So everything that's being captured during the slaughter process, like the weight, the muscle, the fat, the lung scoring, everything is recorded at that slaughterhouse and automatically sent back to LeeO. So in that sense, we report this information automatically back to the farmer, so they can, an individual animal level, they can see how did they perform and what was the actual payout for them. So there's also a very deep insights. And then when you have all those insights, you can run analysis. Why is this animal not performing so well? Is it because of the room it was in? Is it because of genetics that I use? Maybe I treated this animal. All those elements are through the LeeO dashboard, you can gain those insights.
Can we estimate the return on investment on LeeO?
Yes.
Because I assume that it's a cost behind that, no?
Of course there's a cost behind it, yeah. And that's the way we do this, we've seen this so far, there's a couple of things that we call this the low-hanging fruit. For instance, if you know when an animal is being born, and we can predict the weight it should have been at a certain point in slaughter, you can actually plan accordingly. So what you can do, we can guide you into the most economical point in time when an animal should go to slaughter. And the first research we did, we're saving like $5-6 a pig on that, really? Just by planning efficiently. And that's just a very simple step to do this, to take the factor of age in the equation. Not only look at the weight of the animal, also look at the age, because that makes an economical point. We call this life growth. Life growth is kind of a new KPI that we introduced to the industry because we have those data points. So that's one thing. On the other hand is you get so much insights on the genetic performance. For instance, we had a customer who during this is data analysis they did in LeeO, they found out that certain genetic combinations actually saved them 5 days on feed.
Wow.
So it's a very simple genetic change that they made, and they're already progressing there. So there's the ROI on LeeO is very, very high.
So let's say that it's an open thing, that you can discover yourself which are the points that you need to improve in your system thanks to that, no?
But you do want to improve. And that's the thing. If you're open to say, I'm open to changing the way I operate, not like completely change everything, but really be critical about the way that I operate, then you can have huge margins with working with a system like ours.
So does this thing means that you will have more work having LeeO?
Well, with LeeO you can choose how you operate. So we, and that sometimes you have to do a little investment to get high value. And we say if you record the birth weight of your pig in LeeO, it will later on give you a lot of insights and a lot of movement that you, operational movement you can do with that. You can optimize your operation quite extensively with that. The thing is, what people say, yeah, but weighing means a lot of work. And we've designed LeeO in a way that this is done so smoothly and so efficiently that you do not need any more labor. You do not need to hire more people to collect those data points. And the beauty of it, once you collected all those data points, you don't need to go behind your computer and write everything down, take your sow cards and run them back to the computer and type these errors that people are writing. You've seen handwriting of farmers, right? We all do. It's not that good. So, and with this digital way of recording, you get out of the barn, your work is done. Your work day is done. Your management has this information. Your dashboards are filled with the latest data. And everybody knows the current status. It's a very live system in that sense.
Another tricky question. What happens if I don't have internet in my barn?
Yeah, that's a good one. We get this quite a lot, this question. I think it's a very fair one because we see barns are not the perfect conditions for technology.
This is the reality.
Right? That's a reality. So what we've done, we've designed a system in a way that if you go into a barn, everything you need to know about your animals, all the data and everything you want to record is physically there on your mobile phone or on your tablet, whatever you prefer to use. So you can do all the recordings, you can do all your work. At the end of the day, when you drive home, you get a cellular reception, or you go into the canteen, you get a cup of coffee, and there's Wi-Fi there. The system automatically syncs that data back to the cloud, and you're done.
So no internet.
No internet. No internet. That's how of course, sometimes it needs to get out, right?
Okay, yeah.
But you don't need it to do your daily work.
Not because usually the farms, they are not in places that you have internet.
Yeah.
Even sometimes they don't have electricity, so it's.
I know exactly what you mean, and that's one of our key reasons is we want to have a system that works in every environment. So if we say you have to have this, and that as a minimum, or else you can work with LeeO, it's going to be very challenging for us to promote a system that we have. So we definitely made that choice too. It fits in every single operation.
I love what you're saying. I love the fact that you have a system that you can trust in it because there is no problems or mistakes just translating the information. So, but imagine now that I have another software at home, at my farm. I have another software for sows that it's the ones that I really love it. So can it make sense to use LeeO? Or can I use both or?
Well, you can always use both. And I think that's something that we consider ourselves as being an add-on to existing systems. Because all these management systems right now who are out there, they just simply don't go to the individual pig level. And that's what we can give. So what we want to do is we want to collect the data and give that data to those existing systems. We have a very enhanced way of communicating our information to those existing systems and also receiving that. So we have, I don't want to be too technical, but we have like APIs that allow you to really build that interface with those systems automatically, so you don't have to do any labor. We strongly believe in a single point of entry. And that single point of entry should share with everything that you're working with. And also receiving data. If you have like an electronic sow feeding system, you would like to have those feed intakes of those sows. You like to have those weights of those sows being presented in LeeO because it can tell you something about the performance of the offspring, for instance. So all those data elements we would love to have in LeeO, and that's how we easily collect them.
LeeO has an excellent present, and it's all over the world, different countries, different continents. So, but this is the present, which is the future.
Good question. So, we believe the use of LeeO will only grow in the future because of the fact that there are new regulations coming that you have to have that type of traceability in place. There's going to be a license to produce. You have to report to governments about what you're doing in traceability. If there's outbreak, we need to be very precise on where's this outbreak coming from, how can we manage that properly. So those are elements that are going to be very important, that it's going to drive LeeO. But that's not why we designed it. We designed it for the farmers. And with that in place, we can see that AI and prediction algorithms that's the future for us. We have so much data in LeeO, so much insanely precise data. That data feeds into our algorithms and it gives you predictions and tells you what to do. The good thing about that is that a system can guide you through your work without having to have deep knowledge about what you're doing. Let's say if you want to take pigs to slaughter, selecting the right ones for slaughter, that's an art by itself. And everybody in the industry here, in the people here know also that's very difficult to do. But if an app or an AI can guide you through that process to be even better at that, that means you don't have to qualified people there. The app tells you exactly what to do, and you know exactly when your attack's being done. So that's why I see the future is really in the use of the data to get that production running even better. And there's going to be a lot of traceability needs from a governmental perspective.
That was so great, excellent. Times fly, and I think that's time to say thank you to you. I think that it's been a pleasure to have you here at this, and be the first one doing this kickoff of this new set.
I'm so honored.
I think that I just want to say something. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And we have a present that we give to all the people that they are invited to our show, which is this mug. I hope that you enjoy and you can take some tea or coffee, whatever here.
This is going to be my favorite mug from now on.
Oh, thank you, Peter.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for being with us today.
Okay, thank you for listening to me.
In this week's Breaking Swine News, the latest in benchmark data. Joining us remotely from Iowa, we have Derald Holtkamp. Welcome, Derald.
Hi, Miguel.
Thank you, Derald, for being here.
Great to be here, Miguel.
Derald, can you briefly explain to the audience what the Global Swine Benchmarking Project is all about?
Yeah, of course, Miguel. The Global Swine Benchmarking Project analyzes and compares pork production and financial data across different countries. It allows us to identify the factors contributing to each country's relative advantage or disadvantage in the global market. The first report we did was based on 2018 data, and the latest update now incorporates data from 2022, giving us a fresh look at industry trends.
Fascinating, Derald. So, what is the most surprising trend in the latest report?
Well, there's many interesting data, but for example, did you know that Brazil was the low-cost supplier while Japan and South Korea have the highest cost of production per kilogram of pork sold?
No, I have no idea. But that might be the explanation of this paper-thin slice of pork that I got in my ramen last night.
You never know, Miguel, but what we do know from the benchmarking data is that Japan's high feed prices are a major driver of these production costs. In fact, Japanese producers are at a 98 US cents per kilogram disadvantage compared to countries with average feed cost.
That's a huge gap. So, Derald, what about market prices? Are there a big difference between that respect?
Sure, Miguel. Along with the highest cost, the highest market pig prices were also reached in South Korea and Japan. It gave producers there a respective $1.87 and $1.84 per kilogram carcass weight advantage over countries with average market pig prices.
Speaking about competitive factors, what are the main ones that give certain country an advantage and to put them in a top place, or what are the ones that they give disadvantages?
Yeah, the major factors are consistent across the years. Market pig prices, feed cost, and productivity are the most significant drivers of a country's relative advantage or disadvantage. Wage rates, labor productivity, and fixed cost are also important, but their overall impact tends to be smaller by comparison.
Thank you very much, Derald. As always, you help us a lot, and I think that you are always giving this gold information that we need to know. Thank you very much for being with us, Derald. So that's it for Breaking Swine News, the latest news bulletin served at your table. Stay tuned for more. Wow, what a great evening. I don't know if you enjoy as much as we did, but I can tell you that that was a great, great show. Well, show is not over yet. Do you know that we have in Prague a tech center that they are working on artificial intelligence? We have a bunch of data science people there. And of course, the best person that they can help us a little bit to understand what is around that is from Prague, from MSD Prague, Justina Ivanauskaite.
Thank you, Miquel.
Welcome, Justina. So let me start with something easy. I understand, I hear that, you know, you are always working with algos and all these kind of things, but I heard that the algos, they have names. Is that true?
Oh, there are many amazing names.
Really?
Let me tell you of like few like my favorite ones. So there is an algorithm called random forest. And it's called forest because when algorithm decides in which way to go or which direction to take, it creates like branches. And then you have a tree. But then when you're training the algorithm, you are creating many of them, like with some random starting points. And it's called random forest. And isn't it just beautiful?
It's amazing. And well, do you know, can you tell a little bit about this last Nobel Prize that it was related to artificial intelligence and what that's about?
So it's actually even 2 Nobel Prizes. So Physics Nobel Prize was awarded to researchers that laid foundations for algorithms behind AI. So it's really about how the algorithms work, like some things, some ways how to calculate things. And then there was another Nobel Prize for chemistry, and that was already awarded for the applications of AI. And the core applications there are about predicting protein structure and also creating brand new proteins, which didn't even exist evolutionary. And these are having amazing impacts because proteins are base for our vaccines, for example. So these inventions will help to improve both human health by creating new drugs and vaccines, but in the end it will impact also animal health because better vaccines or even not possible vaccines in the past will be possible to invent by using these new algorithms.
This is crazy, but let's go a little bit on land, on territory, you know, because in which way artificial intelligence may help swine farms?
So there are multiple ways, and one of them is about predicting disease outbreaks by gathering the data from variables from tags. Another way is helping farm management. For example, if you own many farms and there always some kind of productivity gap. For example, like the best farms would have much better numbers for number of piglets per sow, feed effectiveness, or how long it takes to grow a pig to certain weight, and algorithms can help to find what to do to close this gap, how to improve those worse farms, how to make them better.
How easy or how difficult is to implement something in a like that in a system or in a system like imagine a big producer?
So it really depends like at what quality data is gathered and whether the data is integrated at various systems. Algorithms already exist. It's probably the easiest part, but the harder part is to identify which exact problem needs to be solved, and then do we have right data to train our algorithms to produce like some answers or recommendations.
Help me a little bit to understand, because I hear that one thing is correlation, another one is causality.
Yes.
Can you explain about that?
Oh, so you have correlation. It's like phenomena when things are moving in the same direction. For example, there can be some GDP numbers of like Danish economy, and there could be like white stork population in Denmark. And if you could get correlation measure, you would see that there is high correlation, but it's just movement in the same direction for some random reason or no reason at all. Causation is when something is actually causing the other. So if you start using vaccine and that helps to improve animal welfare, so that is like causal action. And when you're using algorithms, they are usually exploring these correlations. And to know whether it's really causation, you need to experiment and test. So it's not enough just to keep running an algorithm. You need to create some tests try new strategies and see whether those actions suggested are causing the effects you are expecting.
When we are thinking about Gen AI, no? In which way we need to be careful on what Gen AI told us?
Oh, we always need to be careful and like critically think whether it's a correct answer. We need to evaluate ourselves, and I think there will be a lot of information like around us, even more than it is now, because it's possible now to generate millions of articles automatically. So we will have to be critical, but there is like no one solution how to solve it. We'll need to be aware.
Last one, because it's really interesting, but we don't have a lot of time. So the last question, tell me about synthetic data.
Oh.
When we are using that, and what's synthetic data?
So synthetic data is when you have algorithm that already learned in the past from some data. So algorithm inside has like some patterns described. And that algorithm then can produce brand new data from what algorithm learned in the past. And these observations can be brand new. There can be things that have never seen before. When you're talking with ChatGPT, for example, it is answering back to you, and that is synthetic data. It is also possible to create synthetic data in clinical trials. You can create, when you have a clinical trial, usually run 1, 2, or 3 trials. But when you have already an algorithm representing clinical trial, you can create thousands of synthetic clinical trials, and then you can analyze properties of clinical trials, analyze designs, propose new changes to clinical trials by analyzing synthetic data.
Wow. So, and this is just the beginning.
It is just the beginning. These algorithms that are, let's say, most on the wave right now, they were invented in last couple of decades. So it's very new, and computing power has significantly improved in last few decades. So it became available, both mathematical algorithm structure and also the computational power. And also the data collected is now massive. Like the internet is full of data. It's huge storage of data. So all these things like bring a chance to automate, to invent new things.
Wow. This is just the beginning, but now is the end of the program. So I want to thank you, Justina, for coming with us and make all these things that may look difficult to understand, make easy to understand. You rock it as always. Thank you, Justina, for being with us.
Thank you.
Please give a big applause to Justina. Thank you. That's all, folks. This is all for today. We were starting with traceability with Peter, talking a little bit how important was all this process. Then we have a small bite of Derald, talking about benchmark. And why not, bang, bang, we were finishing with artificial intelligence with Justina. What a great show. Be ready for next show that we will have a key guy on immunology, Professor Frondoloso, directly from Brazil. Until next time, remember, show must go on. Good night, everyone.